Okay, so first off, I know that Christians aren't going to be the only ones watching this video. And even though this message is primarily for them, there's something in it for unbelievers too. So I'm glad you're here. This video has to do with the goal and approach of Christians on YouTube toward unbelievers and what I think it should be. In the end, I'm going to share what I think is a secret weapon that Christian scholars, apologists, and YouTubers often miss. So stay tuned for that. But first, let me share my personal goal here. I've definitely said this plenty of times on our channel, but some people are still shocked when I say it. My goal for unbelievers who come to Trinity Radio is that those unbelievers will become Christians. Now you might think, well, obviously, but people like me are often considered disingenuous if we're trying to convince more than we are trying to have a conversation to get to some deeper understanding with an atheist about something. And I get that. It's just about a conversation. It's not about trying to persuade. It's about learning from each other's perspectives. Well, I definitely want to learn from the perspectives of others. And I've learned a lot from atheists, for instance. But just so there's no basis for claiming that I'm offering a bait and switch here, I'm trying to persuade you. I'm extremely confident in the truth of Christianity. And so when I interact with atheist material, it's going to be very difficult to change my mind. This isn't a hobby. It's not for my own amusement. My goal is to convince you. In 2 Corinthians 10:5, Paul says, "We are destroying speculations and every lofty thing raised up against the knowledge of God, and we are taking every thought captive to the obedience of Christ." And it is said about Paul in Acts 18:4, "And he was reasoning in the synagogue every Sabbath and trying to persuade Jews and Greeks." That's what I'm trying to do. And if you think that means I'm completely closed-minded, I'm not. My faith could be falsified in principle, and if you do it, I will be convinced. But with each passing year and more critical literature I engage with, it becomes less and less likely that I'm going to run into some argument that's going to undercut all I've come to know of the truth. So again, my goal is to see people convinced and committed to Christianity. I'm laying my cards on the table. But here's where the message is geared toward convinced and confident Christians. Some Christian YouTubers function a bit like hobby channels. I've long said there are apologists out there who are geeks for apologetics, like some people are geeks for Star Wars, and other people are geeks for Lord of the Rings. They love this online niche and they're interested in apologetics, and so they create channels that are basically fan channels for this subject. But for those that share my goal of producing content that will actively be helpful with persuasion, there are two general methods. One, present intellectual reasons to believe that Christianity is true through direct teaching, response videos to unbelievers, or hosting debates on your channel. Two, proclaiming the gospel and teaching the Bible. After all, the gospel is the power of God unto salvation. This can be tremendously effective, and those of us who do it get regular messages of people who came to Christ because God used the material that has to do with the proclamation and defense of the gospel message. And even though in just a moment I'm going to throw something else into the mix that I think we often leave out, this is the meat of what we do. This is the substance. This is the content, and we should strive to do it with excellence. A few days ago, one of our viewers was watching a video on our channel in which I was responding to an atheist YouTuber. At that time, this particular video had about 2,000 views. He said, it struck me that if even half of those viewers are Christians, and we all agreed to pray at some point while we're watching that video for the salvation of that atheist content creator, we could see God do something truly amazing. This struck me as so incredibly obvious, I was blown away that it had never occurred to me before. Here we have potentially thousands of believers watching a video and focusing on one atheist creator. Why not be intentional about what we're doing and agree together to pray for his or her conversion at some point while watching the video? I plan to post a suggested prayer like this in the description box of every response video I make going forward. That's the secret weapon. Not just prayer, but an organized effort of thousands of believers praying for one atheist content creator at some point during a video and praying for atheist creators like that one video at a time. But some might say, but Braxton, what about the free will of the individual? Is God going to violate their free will to make them saved? No, we're not praying that God would violate their free will. We're praying that God will increase influence in their lives. We have whole videos on how free will and prayer work on this channel. And any particular person can simply refuse the offer of salvation. Another person might ask, why doesn't God just increase that influence on his own? Why does he need us to pray for it? He could, and he doesn't need us to pray. But God is an interactive God. He uses the means of our preaching of the gospel, our defense of the faith, and he responds to our prayers because he wants to. So this is my request for you. Will you commit with me to pray for the unbelievers to whom we respond on this channel? I mean, go crazy. Pray for any unbeliever you know of. I hope you will. But I believe a unified and committed focus of prayer could be unbelievably powerful in changing lives. That's what I'm hoping for from you. And to kick it off, start with this guy. I think he's close.